Hello everyone, it's Matt here, and today we're going to be doing a review of the new Naked and Famous album, Simple Forms. So here I have with me the Simple Forms album on vinyl. Wasn't the cheapest of vinyl. It costed me £24 in HMV, which is quite a lot, basically, considering I could have got it for a tenner on CD or probably even cheaper, just the MP3 version. Or I could have got it for free by streaming, but I like to pay a bit for my music, support the artists and everything, especially if they're not world famous. And plus I like to own something physical, so that's why I get it on vinyl. So I will show you guys everything to do with it. So there's the outer sleeve and the back of it and everything. Here's the inner sleeve. You've got the nice sort of duochrome artwork. Reminds me of a little bit of the moon-shaped pool artwork by Radiohead. All the splots of paint and everything, and that's quite cool. I like it. And obviously you've got the record inside there, which I don't really want to handle too much. I'll just get it out a bit so you know it's in there. I'm not lying to you. It's quite nice artwork, actually. Quite simplistic, but I like it. It stands out on my iPhone when I'm looking at my music and everything, Anyway, the Naked and Famous were formed in 2008 by Elisa Xylith, who's the lead vocalist of the band, and Tom Powers, who also sings and he plays guitar too. And they've released 3 albums, including this one. Passive Me, Aggressive You, which was released in 2010. And then In Rolling Waves, their sophomore effort, which was 2013, I do believe. I think so. When I was in year 9, because that's how I remember them, because I sort of grew up listening to them a bit, really. So, on with the review. I found out about the Naked and Famous when I was about 12, after they released their first album. Let's get the game through this. FIFA 12 for the Wii. Yeah, cracking. I never had an Xbox. I don't have one at the moment. It's not really something that's a big deal to me. But I'm a massive football fan, and I always wanted to get FIFA. And the amount of hours I've actually spent playing FIFA on the Wii is ridiculous. It's not a great game, really, compared to the Xbox versions. But anyway. And FIFA 12, one of the songs on the soundtrack was Punching in a Dream by TNAF. And it was my favourite song, and I loved it. And every time it came on, I did a little dance and everything, and it was all good. And I had to find out about this band because, if they can write songs like that, it sounded like the sort of thing, kind of like the stuff that my dad would play in a car. My dad's a massive 80s fanatic and everything. And you can tell the influence by it. They're a synth band after all. And it reminded me of that a bit, and I really enjoyed it. So I got their first album, Passive Me, Aggressive You. That's where I found out about the lead single off that album, Youngblood, which defined my year 7. Memory lane. Youngblood is a fantastic synth pop song, one of my favourite songs ever. It's probably the Naked and Famous' most well-known song. It's a brilliant song, just about growing up and being a teenager and stuff like that, so I suppose I can relate to it a fair bit. Then they released In Rolling Waves 2013. That was more of a breakup album, because I think around that time Elisa Xylith and Tom Powers, the two main sort of the vocalist in the Naked and Famous, they split up. They were in a relationship previous to that. I think it was after the album release they split up. I can vaguely remember reading about it and everything. In Rolling Waves was a bit of a drearier album and everything, the sort of the black and white artwork and everything. I didn't like it as much as Passive Me, Aggressive You. It was still a good album. The singles off it were great. I Kill Giants is still one of my favourite songs by the Naked and Famous. And Hearts Like Ours as well. It's a great song. So yeah. So when I found out that the Naked and Famous were releasing Simple Forms, I was very excited. It was only last weekend I actually got this on vinyl. I went into Bath with a few of my friends and I thought I'd get it then. But I've been wanting to get it for a while. It's been on my wish list, but it sort of went to the back of the queue a little bit. I don't know. But there you go. And it is an album that I have enjoyed a lot. And I've this past week, since I got it on vinyl, because obviously you get the MP3 downloads and everything, so I popped it on my phone and everything, and I've listened to it a hell of a lot. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's very enjoyable music. It's easy listening. It's sort of very poppy kind of stuff, electronic kind of music. It's sort of the real edge of what you could call alternative, really. I mean, in some ways it's pure pop, but there we go. I think the first point I can make about Simple Forms as an album is that it's very consistent, and it's more consistent than the Naked and Famous' first 2 albums. It flows a lot nicer. There are points that I'll discuss in a minute about where it doesn't quite go as I would have liked it to. But as an album, I feel it's stronger than their first 2 LPs. However, I think the main con for me would be the fact that it really lacks some lead singles. I listened to Higher before the album was released and everything. And it's a good song, but it's not in the same league as Hearts Like Ours or Youngblood. It's a very, very similar sort of style to those two. Even the key is the same. They're all in F sharp major. They're all sort of synth pop kind of songs, but I just don't feel it's as good. It's a nice song, but the chord progression, you'll hear me talk about this a lot today, because a lot of their work is very sort of based on a few different chord progressions that some work, some don't, It's a variety. And that one I don't think does work as well as something like Youngblood. I suppose their first two albums were more like a collection of singles. This is more like an actual album itself, but then as a consequence, you lack those real, I suppose the word is bangers. I don't like using that word. I just think of bangers and mash. So yeah, well, I'll talk about some of the key tracks. So obviously I mentioned Higher, and yeah, I think I gave Higher a bit of a bad rep. It's not a bad song by any means, but it's not a classic Naked and Famous song, I don't feel. In contrast, my favourite song of the album is Last Forever, which is the fourth track off it. Now, the track previous to this, My Energy, uses exactly the same chord progression in the chorus, which annoyed me a bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm not annoyed. That's a bit of a strong word. My favourite track of the album was Last Forever, which was the fourth track, and it's sort of a typical pop song, really, but it uses the chord progression in the previous song, My Energy, to a much greater effect. It's more upbeat, more sort of danceable. Every time I listen to it, I feel like I have to dance to it. It's a fantastic song. So that you've got this loud, quiet, loud dynamic. I just discussed a lot when I was talking about the Pixies a couple of weeks ago. And it's like that in electronic form, basically. It works really well and everything. And when the chorus hits you, God, blimey, it's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. That's a standout for me. Higher was released as the first single. I really think it should have been Last Forever. But there you go. People have different views. I'll just adjust the mic because it keeps slipping because I haven't set it up very well. So sorry about that. But at least we have a mic stand this week, so that's nice. Anyway, the next song that I want to talk about is The Water Beneath You, which is the second song on the album. The instrumentation of the song really does it for me on this song. How they set up the synths effectively, they're very explosive. Again, it's an explosive chorus in the sense that it really bursts into life. The first chorus is just, chorus section is without vocals. It's just the synth, effectively, just the keyboards, and it works fantastically. The other two tracks I want to mention are the second and third singles of the album, Laid Low and The Runners, which come 7th and 8th in the album. So you have Backslide to start off the second half of the album. That's quite a nice song. Sounds a bit like Panic at the Disco, that kind of thing. Not that that's my usual taste, but there we go. It sounds a bit like that, but perhaps a bit more synthy. Then you get Laid Low, which is, I think this is the best example of production on the album, specifically like the panning. Like at the end of the song, it sort of builds up and everything. The first chorus is quite quiet. It's just the vocals and like a little synth line and everything. At the end of it, it's going for it. The drums in this song, Jesse Wood, who plays the drums, it just hits the hell out of the kit he does in this song. It's fantastic. It works really well. Nice and high up in the mix, actually, the drums are. I mean, I'm no drummer, but, I like to be able to hear the drums. So you got the drums coming out, and then these vocals, like the panning effect on the vocals, coming out of this speaker and this speaker, and all over the place, flying around everywhere, and it really creates this immense sort of very intense feeling, actually, that as you're listening to it. The way it sort of builds up to this climatic final chorus. And it's used to great effect. So I think it's Tom Powers who produced the album as well. It just says The Naked and Famous in general. I think they all know what they're doing when it comes to, sitting behind the desk and getting all the parts recorded. Because a lot of it is synths, basically, which you can just program straight into software. I don't know if that's how they do it or not. And the song of Laid Low itself, again, a nice, catchy song, effectively. It's an easy listen. But yeah, it builds up very nicely. And the instrumentation makes the song, as I said, and the production and everything. That fits together very nice. Then you have The Runners, which, in terms of instrumentation, is relatively average. But for me, in this case, it's the chord progression that makes the song. It's probably the best example of the chord progression on the whole album. It fits together really nicely. I suppose you've kind of got the loud, quiet, loud dynamic and everything between the verse and the chorus. And that works. It's just a really catchy song. The lyrics are probably the best example on this album as well, about clinging to these signs that she hopes to find. I think Elisa sings this about, I don't know, I sense it's about a breakup. I mean, I've listened to it like 10 times I've got it 10 times on the iTunes thing, and I've listened to it on vinyl and everything a few times as well, so I've heard it a lot. And I get the sense it's about a breakup, basically. And it's very emotive. It's probably the most emotional song and everything. And yeah, it's probably my other favourite song, as well as Last Forever. Last Forever is like your upbeat sort of banger. The Runners is more of your sort of bit more somber, bit more It's a bit quieter. I mean, it's still loud. I mean, the Naked and Famous are quite a loud band with their synths and everything. But it's a really sweet song, really nice song, I think. And it fits really well after sort of the build-up of Laid Low that bursts into this final chorus, and then you get the runners, which works really well. So there you go. Those are some key tracks and everything. The album itself fits together really nicely. So yeah, there you go. I enjoyed the album a lot. However, from a critical point of view, I wouldn't put it up there with some of the better albums in terms of the synth pop genre. I'm talking about, I don't know, The Bones of What You Believe by Churches, that sort of thing. I don't know, Settle by Disclosure. It's not up there, I don't think, with them, really. It's a good album, and I enjoyed it, but even compared to, I don't know, something like Passive Me, Aggressive You, I probably preferred it because the singles were better. So overall, I'm going to give it a 6.5. It's a very enjoyable listen, a nice, easy listen. And I'm glad I have it on vinyl. It's nice to be able to, be able to own and everything and pop on the turntable when I'm just in the mood for just a nice catchy pop song, really. And I like it, and it keeps you hooked the whole way through. The singles are very well placed, and the track listing works really well as well. So there you go, 6.5. So, are you a Naked and Famous fan? Do you know the band? I don't know. Do you or don't you? If you do, leave your comments below. Am I talking nonsense? Do you think this is the best album ever? Let me know. And if you just want to reminisce about Youngblood and Punching in a Dream and, Passive Me and all of that, we can have a nice chat about that, because honestly, I could talk about that album for years. It's a great album. Anyway, thanks for watching and everything. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, see you in the next video.